Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I know most of us are seeing antagonism in the political space. But do you know that the 2022 contest is a contest between two people that were once friends? That is Raila and Ruto. Unlike Ruto, who is going to be in the presidential ballot as a presidential candidate for the first time, Raila have been there for 4 times, and this is the 5th stab. He has faced Kibaki once, he has faced Uhuru twice, he has faced Moi once, then he's going to face now William Samoei Ruto. So what do you think is bringing this antagonism? The 5th stab by Raila was birthed by the breakup between Uhuru and William Ruto. And I have to repeat here that if the handshake had not happened, and so the political dynamics wouldn't have changed, Raila would not be a presidential candidate as of now, because the NASA will still be there. And you know, Kalonzo had some secret document. The NASA gang would have ganged up and said it was time for Raila to support one of them. And on the other side, if Uhuru Kenyatta was also going to stick with William Ruto, then William Ruto was going to give another stamp, and he was going to face another candidate from the NASA team, which most likely, now William Ruto will be having an easy way to presidency. But Raila is his longest route to presidency. I can tell you this. The longest route of William Ruto to presidency is Raila Odinga. Because this is not about just 2022. Raila Odinga presidency means a lot. But let me just take you back a bit to how these fellas then fell out, the fallout between Raila and Ruto. We have all spoken about the fallout between Uhuru and Ruto. In 2005, KANU merged with the LDP side that said no to the constitution. Then they ran up to 2017. By that time, William Ruto was the Secretary General of KANU and Uhuru Kenyatta was the chairman. So KANU decided they were going to support PNU, which was Mwai Kibaki's party. So they were going to support Mwai Kibaki's re-election. Then William Ruto also wanted to vie for presidency. But after meeting the senior Moi told him not to go for that seat. Then when they went to Kasarani on 1st September, William Ruto faced off with Raila and Musalia, and William Ruto came 3rd. Then that's where they supported Raila. Then he became the part of the Pentagon. Through the Pentagon, that is how William Ruto got the national visibility. Actually, that's the time that he stamped his authority as the Rift Valley Kingpin. The person who made him become the Kingpin was Raila Odinga through the Pentagon. Then you know what happened after the 2017 elections. Of course, it was disputed and all that violence. Then in the Grand Coalition government setup, DP Ruto did not feel comfortable by the fact that Raila Odinga opted to choose Musalia Mudavadi for the Deputy Prime Minister's post, and I think he opted that he wanted to be given that post because, according to him, his backyard had given Raila Odinga more votes. But instead, he was taken to the Ministry of Agriculture. Then that played out. After some time, they swapped. He was taken to higher education, which was by Sally Kosgei. Then Sally Kosgei was given agriculture. And you just know all the other dramas that were in that Grand Coalition government. A very strong face-off between Raila and Ruto.
The Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, needs to tell the country whether the rhetoric that he is involved in, is it campaign propaganda that he is distributing for his own campaign, or is it government policy?
How do you expect someone who opposed it to implement it? This is what I've been saying. So I've been telling the people that don't vote for the people who oppose the Constitution, because you want this Constitution to be implemented. It is not Raila Odinga who took the envelope to ICC. It is this House, at the instigation, Mr. Speaker, of the people who are known, whom Mr. Speaker took Kenyans to be tried at the ICC.
And it is on record that the ODM said they want us, those who have been taken to the Hague, to be tried in the Hague, and that there was no court in Kenya that would try us. That letter is a matter of public record. Was that letter issued with the permission of the Prime Minister?
Then in 2013, there was the next conversation, and it was very false that Raila is the person that fixed them. At some point, William Ruto had a feeling like, okay, Raila is the person that fixed me. And I'm just leaving that up to there because we are going to revisit it. So they were friends up to until 2013, when now URP and TNA formed the government with President Uhuru Kenyatta. So after that, Raila went to opposition and was a very strong critic of that government. Now, in 2022, Raila is facing off with William Ruto. And in this video, I want to show you I want to do a critical analysis why William Ruto is feeling very uncomfortable with a Raila presidency. There were some very wrong stereotypes that were being peddled that, when Raila gets presidency, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. But William Ruto, personally, if this team would have formed alliance and even picked another candidate, even Kalonzo, it will not be a do or die for the Kenya Kwanza team. But because it is Raila Odinga, that is why the context is a do or die for Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. That's what I want it to look like. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this video and you have not yet subscribed, take a second and subscribe, and also click the notification bell so that when we publish a video, YouTube will always notify you. Raila is a bold, extraordinary leader. This is something that DP Ruto knows very well. And I can tell you that why he's afraid of him, there is a bit comfortable with Raila. That's back in that Grand Coalition government. Raila fired Deputy President William Ruto as a minister. He fired DP Ruto, and by that time, DP Ruto had been part of the ODM party. In fact, is the person who appointed Deputy President William Ruto, that minister. Of course, Raila was forwarding the names to President Kibaki. And so that's how the government was being shared. And he fired him on the corruption allegation. So Ruto knows that this is the kind of a person that will not make popular decisions. And let me tell you, this is the difference between Raila and Uhuru. People have been asking Uhuru, if Uhuru knew that Ruto was corrupt and Ruto was doing underhand deals with the government, why did he have to work with him, or why did he impeach him? Why? Why didn't you see Uhuru Kenyatta taming his deputy? Even though the Constitution of 2010 gave some immunity to managing your deputy. But I can tell you, Uhuru Kenyatta is kind of a leader who is more reserved. Uhuru, Kibaki, they were more reserved, because when Raila fired Ruto, it is Kibaki who returned him to the cabinet. So the same way, Ruto knows very well that Raila can make very bold and popular decisions that can even affect him. He wouldn't mind. That is something. If it is about that Western hotel, I can for sure tell you. And Raila's team in that government, they realize, okay, there is a problem and it needs to be brought down. I can tell you, if Raila was the president, that Western hotel would have been down here. Let's look at something very critical. Raila is a political schemer. And because of immediately he is going to be elected in that office, if he assumes the office of the presidency, Raila will plot on 2027. He shall have made his mind, am I going for a rerun? Am I going for re-election, or am I not going for? Now, unlike unlike Uhuru Kenyatta, I can tell you, if William Ruto would be a deputy to Raila Odinga as we talk now, I can surely tell you that Deputy President William Ruto will not be where he is. In fact, he will not be enjoying all that fanatical support. In fact, that one of even getting support from President's backyard won't be there, because Raila would have destroyed him completely. He knows very well he is a political schemer. And that is why I mentioned in this video, the longest route to William Ruto presidency in this country is not Uhuru Kenyatta, is not Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. The longest route to Ruto presidency is Raila Odinga. And that is why he must make sure that it's demolished. In fact, William Ruto will even accept to be in a grand coalition with Raila than going outside Raila Odinga's inner circle, because he has a fanatical support across the country. So, what DP knows is when Raila assumes office, Raila will craft 2022 scheme. If BBA comes up, in fact, it's very easy. Even when Raila is there, you will even realize, okay, we're even changing the term. When BBA comes back, it will reconfigure everything. And also, Raila can destroy that UDA party. Within 2 years, that Raila will destroy that party. That one I can assure you. And DP Ruto knows very well that Raila is not the kind of a politician who is just going to look at you, and he's not the person we are saying. That is number two. Something also is very interesting here. The Raila Odinga is not going to pursue his business, William Ruto's business interests. One of the reasons why people are seeking leadership is not even uplifting the life of Kenyans. That is just a cover-up. That is just a political message to woo Kenyans. But the real deal is business interests. And Odinga will not be the kind of a person that will just go, okay, let's do this. Remember the way when Mount Kenya Foundation, let me tell them, business community endorsed Raila Odinga, it was not sitting pretty well with William Ruto. It's not because they're supporting Raila, but it's because there was going to be conflict. Because DP Ruto also have those business ideas. And he knows very well that if Raila is in power, and Raila has got the support of the Central Kenya business community, he knows that he's going to change perspective. He will not, these industries where Ruto have interests, he will not even focus on those industries. And that is something that will hurt it completely. Now, lastly, the corruption loopholes. When Raila talks about, I know where money is, Kenyans, that is a question that the Kenya Kwanza team don't answer. When Raila says, I know where that money is, I know how they're stealing, people have never asked how. Raila Odinga was a deputy, was a prime minister in this country, has been a minister, and was the Uhuru. People don't know what Uhuru, maybe what Raila knows and Uhuru knows about the government, and Raila has been a prime minister. So let me tell you something. How Ruto cleverly amassed wealth. In 1992, while he was in YK92 Youth for KANU, he was the treasurer. That is why they were with Jirongo. He was the treasurer. Then 1997, he used the money that he got at YK. In fact, after that, he fell out with Moi and went to seek the Eldoret North MP against Reuben Chesire, who was Moi's right-hand person. And he won. And he used really money that he had amassed from KANU. So that's how Moi returned him back. Now, in that coalition, in that government that he formed with Uhuru, people have been thinking and have been asking, how did he make money? And of course, you ask yourself, this is a gentleman who would go to church and donate 2 million. The next Sunday, 2 million. The other midweek 1 million. There, 500,000. He has money. But when Raila says, I know how to deal with these loopholes, there is a very big conundrum of conversation in this country about tenders. Ruto has been a tenderpreneur. And when Uhuru gave him powers now to manage some ministries, especially in the first term, he actually mentioned in one of the interviews in 2016 with the Hussein Mohammed in Citizen that when he worked with Uhuru, he was in charge of the operations of the ministries in the first term. So you even ask, so if he was in charge of the ministries, and that is the time that President Uhuru Kenyatta was borrowing, so it seems he knew about whatever was happening in terms of borrowing. That is number one. Number two, Ruto benefited from many tenders. Many tenders. And when there is a tender as low as, and I was discussing with the gentleman just this morning, was telling me that even during Mwai Kibaki, there was corruption. These tenders were there and there was corruption. But ulikuwa napata za juu, but hizi za chini za 5 million, 2 million Kenyans will get. Then Ruto was out to take everything. Everything. So when he goes, that tender, this tender, especially in different high-end ministries, because also President Uhuru Kenyatta gave him, no, Minister of Energy was under him. And the plot was very easy. First, he planted people who are, and someone was even saying that if you do your research, you will realize that most people in the procurement departments, in those ministries that were mostly affected, were his proxies. So this is something that has happened. Now, he knows very well that if Raila gets this loophole, fills these loopholes, then his coffers will run dry. For him to have a very good presidential campaign and have money, if he gets out of government for 10 years, he will not be having money to campaign. Ask Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka or ask Musalia Mudavadi. If he'll be out, Musalia Mudavadi was a vice president for 3 months and was a deputy prime minister, but still cannot have campaign money 10 years after leaving the government. Even ask Martha Karua, does not have money to even stage a presidential campaign. So this is something that is there. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that if Raila tells it, all this conversation of Raila being a puppet is just to Kenyans. But deep down, Deputy President William Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi knows very well that Raila is a threat. He's not the man you're seeing on the screen. He is a different person. If it is, and he will be very ruthless. If someone has committed, if you've been implicated in a corruption, you will go home, whether you were brought in that government by who. Lastly, Raila has international clout. And maybe this is something that William Ruto feels would work against him. You know, the ICC cases are still there, and there are a lot of, even the corruption deals will still be there. So Raila can use his international clout to lock out William Ruto. Whichever some way, these are things that are really under the carpet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my analysis. So tell us, what do you think of Raila presidency? Tell us.